Hi, welcome to Money Matters TV. I'm Patty Tawadros from Xercel. I'm going to be your host, and I'm joined today by my co-host Paul Mitchell. And we have a really interesting guest this afternoon, Victoria Ipri, and she's a LinkedIn coach. She's going to give you everything you need to know to optimize your profile. So Paul, great to see you.
Good to see you again, Patty.
Yeah.
So, well, with our guest and your background and some of my background, it might be a fun time to talk about resources for small and medium-sized businesses.
Yeah, that's always a good one.
Yeah.
People don't always know what's available to them.
Sure. I mean, I'm a commercial banker. I work with small and medium-sized businesses, and you're a consultant for those types of businesses, and our guest is also involved in providing help to those businesses. So, and there are also other resources. Perhaps instead of talking too much about ourselves first, maybe we should talk about various resources that are available to everybody, and most of them are free, aren't they?
Yeah, I know that if you go to the city of Philadelphia, to their commerce department, they have tons of programs for small businesses, including ways to upgrade their storefront. They give them like $10,000.
Wow.
And then there's a fund, an old fund in Philadelphia. What is it? Not the Mariners Fund. I forget what it is.
Merchants?
Merchants Fund.
Merchants, okay.
Merchants Fund. They also have money for small businesses, grants to improve their companies.
How about that? And other counties have similar type programs. I know the Small Business Administration, a federal agency, the SBA, has programs in many areas around Pennsylvania and other states, usually called Small Business Development Centers,
Yes.
frequently associated with colleges or universities.
Yeah, I know that Wharton is the local SBDC partner, and they do tons of free classes, or really inexpensive, maybe $10 to go and get someone to help you with your business plan.
Sure. In fact, I've done that. It appeared as a guest, either as a guest lecturer or a panelist, or even somebody in the audience, where they've had business plans presented by small businesses.
You did that.
And I was one of those people that would sort of like do a critique.
That's
So,
very
orally. So they would present, orally and down on stage and all, and there'd be people in the audience and different backgrounds.
yeah.
So I had a financial background. Might have somebody with an accounting background, somebody with a marketing background, and they would make comments, constructive comments to help the entrepreneur refine their business plan.
Yeah. I'm in a business program right now that's free from Goldman in Philadelphia, and it's done with community college. And just last week, we had to do a 3-minute pitch to all these bankers and business professionals from
Now,
the
who was we?
SBDC.
Your company or?
Oh no,
your
my
clients?
classmates and I.
Oh,
We each
okay.
had 3 minutes to pitch our business and our
Oh.
growth opportunity. There were people from SBDC and different banks in the city, the Philadelphia Department of Commerce. It was very high pressure. You
Pressure.
have 3 minutes to get in all this
okay.
information, and then they were there to give us feedback to make it better.
So how would our audience contact that resource?
Well, the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, they can Google it
Okay.
and apply. But there's other programs like it that the city of Philadelphia puts on. So if that one's not for them, they shouldn't despair. There's lots more available.
And how do you help small businesses?
We go in and we help them get a better presence. So we do their websites, their branding, marketing collateral, their social media presence, from LinkedIn, what our guest Victoria is going to talk about, to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all of it. We help them optimize and reach their audience.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, myself as a banker, commercial banker, sure, I'm in the business of making loans, and we do have to charge interest, and people have to pay it back and that type of thing. Though people talk about banks, big banks, small banks. How do I choose a bank? What's the difference between banks? And a lot of what people should be looking for is that individualized service. Most banks say they have it, they do provide it. Some provide it better than others.
So
But,
people should have a relationship with you as their banker.
Exactly. And be interested in talking to me and other bankers about more than just their loan requests or things like that. It might be other resources available that they're familiar with, whether it's free or paid, other value-added type of resources.
I heard in my class last week that bankers like yourself, if you've made a loan to me and you're my banker, I can go to you and say, tell me about my competition. And you'll actually be able to pull data from the databases you have access to. Is that true?
Well, in certain ways. For example, there's a Commercial Bankers Association, which is really a national association called the Risk Management Association. And it's for commercial bankers. And banks will anonymously put in financial information from their clients that is anonymous from the bank and not even identifying the bank, and certainly not identifying the company. But it might be, and usually it's sorted by SIC code by industry, specialized industry classification. It might be dry cleaners, for example. So the data that would come out that I as a lender would use, and I probably could make available to other people, would be in the dry cleaning business. With dry cleaners with $1 million less in revenues, their gross profit margin is 35%. For those between 1 and 5 million, their gross profit margin is 42%. Things like that.
So you can, if I was a dry cleaner and you gave me that information, I could look at my bottom line and say, I'm not profitable enough, I need to improve.
How do I compare with my peers?
Yeah.
And if I'm a lender, I'm more inclined to lend to the higher performing participants in that industry than the lower performing ones. Or to say that to you, your peer group, you're in the middle, you're in the top, or maybe you're in the lower part. Maybe you can do something to improve your business.
So tell me, would you make introductions for your clients if you had a connection that you thought would be helpful to them to be successful?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a common practice. For example, how about an attorney? How about an accountant? Maybe a marketing professional? Typically, however, because banks have to be concerned with potential conflicts of interest, they don't want to say, well, this is my favorite attorney, only use them, okay, or they give out one name. Typically, we would give out 3 or 4 names.
But would you
and you could then talk to the 3 or 4 of them and make your decision of who you'd like to use, if any of those.
But would you say, hey, Patty, you have a law firm, and there's a merger happening that I heard about, not one of your clients.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make an introduction to my friend that I know from the golf club.
Mm-hmm.
So you would do that as well.
Sure.
Which is why it's so important to have a good relationship with your banker.
Absolutely.
So that you think about me and make introductions for me.
And one of the things you should do also is you could ask. Different banks are going to have different policies.
So I can ask my banker for an introduction.
If you want to be, you have to be fairly specific. Introduction for what?
Right.
Not just to a customer, but you might simply say that I'm in this business. Have you ever thought about, you might have customers that might have need of my services?
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you our guest question, because I know it's going to lead to some interesting conversation. So our question comes from Ralph Patton from Philadelphia. As interest rates rise, would it be better to purchase large banks or smaller banks as an investment for the long term?
Sure.
And before he answers, I think if he's buying a bank, he's got a lot of money.
Well, I would think he's talking about purchase maybe a stock in a,
makes sense.
in a big bank or a smaller bank. Well, there are lots of ways to slice and dice the answer. One, of course, is what do you mean by a large bank or a small bank? I mean, I'll identify the largest banks are $1 trillion plus in assets. They're about 4 or 5. On the other end of the spectrum are small community banks, which typically will have maybe even $100 million in assets. The local small town bank, and there's lots in between. The main thing you would want to look at, though, more important than whether it's a big bank or a little bank, is it a good bank or a lousy bank? Are they well capitalized? Are they making money? What have they done the last 5 or 10 years? Have they been around for a long time? Are they well rated? What's their reputation? So just to say large or small, I mean, large banks, some years ago, most of them were bailed out by the federal government. Probably not a good investment 3 years earlier. And those are the big banks, the biggest banks.
Yeah.
So you really have to do your homework. So I think it's a little, too much of a generalism to say big banks or small banks. Another angle, though, would be, if you have even more time, would be there's a lot of consolidation going on in the banking business, and especially those banks that are kind of between small and medium size.
That's happened in your career. The bank
Happened in
you
my
work
career.
for gets bought out.
My job has come and gone because another bank acquired the bank I was working for, that type of thing. So that's ongoing. Now, generally speaking, if you're investing, if you bought shares in a bank that's going to be acquired, might be a timely investment. Again, there's some speculation about how do you know that bank's going to be acquired? How do you know what price they're going to be acquired for? Again, that's going to depend upon the financial performance of that particular bank.
Have you ever heard the rumor that people in Senate can be involved in insider trading and it's not illegal?
No, I've never heard of that.
Oh, I've heard that. I've heard that's how those people are getting wealthy.
Well,
That's
I
apparently
would
not
like
true.
to say that sounds like an internet myth.
I was thinking I should try and run for Senate, but
Well, it's unethical, regardless of even if it were not illegal per se. It's certainly unethical for anybody to do that. I mean, insider
Oh, of
trading
course.
is a federal
Yeah,
law.
you think about people who've gone to jail for that, like Martha
Oh,
Stewart. Wasn't
sure.
even really insider trading, I don't think, just something.
Well,
But she went to jail.
that's right.
Yeah.
Somebody thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, for those of you who have your own question and you'd like to send it in, here's how you do it.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says Send Us Your Questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, M-O-N-E-Y, -matters, M-A-T-T-E-R-S, TV.com.
Yes.
Welcome back. Now we're going to meet our guest, Victoria, and super excited to have you here today, Victoria.
Thank you, Patty.
Nice to meet you.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, so we'll just kick us off with the first question. And I understand the value, but I know a lot of businesses will say, what's the point of social media? Why do we need to be involved in LinkedIn?
Right.
Maybe
It
you could give us an
seems like
overview.
a giant waste of time to a lot of companies. But if you think about it, business has shifted to the internet now. So if you're not there, your competitors are there. So in an effort to only maybe do the basic kind of competition, you need to at least have a presence on social media. And then the question becomes, which social media channel is best for you? So for professional businesses with sales teams, with any kind of team really, if you have a business and you have employees and you're selling a product or a service, you need to be on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the largest professional social networking platform that we have available to us today. So we have channels like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and they all have their purpose. But for professional companies, especially service firms, LinkedIn is really, that's where it's at.
Well, I'm a banker. I don't see a
Yes.
lot of my bankers pitching their services, I'll say,
Right.
on LinkedIn. I mean, most of my bankers that I know, they have their own individual presence on LinkedIn.
Yes.
More of as almost as a resume. Here I am, this is what I do, this is my background.
Right.
But they're not really, the bank's not really promulgating them on LinkedIn per se. Now, why is that?
Well, first of all, they should be. If they're not, we're going to possibly talk about that in a moment. There's a difference between the personal profile where you talk about yourself, your own accomplishments and achievements, and things like the company page where a bank or a company would have a presence on LinkedIn. You were talking earlier about building relationships and making introductions, and
Right.
LinkedIn is perfect for that. So when people say to me, and they do, why should I waste my time on this? I feel they're really thinking about Facebook more than they are about LinkedIn. Facebook is kitten pictures and what you had for dinner, things like that, videos of something your child did, but LinkedIn is all professional. So if you're looking to generate leads or you're job seeking, or let's say you're a student just out of college, you're looking for your first job, you really need to build and nurture those relationships in order to have the pipeline that you need when it comes time for you to need something from those people. So you can't just, go out on the street and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Anybody know anybody? You need a pipeline of well-nurtured leads who can help open those doors for you. And that's what LinkedIn does really well.
Now, you're a LinkedIn coach. How
Yes.
did you get into the business, and what makes
Great
you
question.
what makes you a qualified coach, and further, what makes you a better or different coach than lots of other LinkedIn coaches I see on the internet?
Okay, I'll try to remember all those questions. You can remind me if I forget. So how did I get into this? I was working in sales and marketing in the occupational medicine side in sales for the Jefferson Health System and also for the Crozier Keystone Health System. And I got a little burned out being on the road and so forth, so I decided I would start my own business. And it was 2006, so I think a lot of starting a home business was like a big deal back then. Everybody's trying to get out of the 9-to-5 grind. So I started a business as a copywriter. I did that for several years, and then someone that I met on the internet said, hey, you really need to be on LinkedIn. Your business is perfect for it. So I really didn't, I had been a member, but I wasn't using it like so many people who are on LinkedIn. So I just sort of started checking it out. I started using it more frequently, building a profile, and then few people said, hey, I love your profile, can you help me with mine? Started helping people, and somewhere along the line somebody said, you know, you could charge for this. And I was like, sounds like a great idea for a business. And that's really how it started, and I just got totally into all the tools and features that LinkedIn offers to business professionals, and I just kind of went from there.
So you've been doing this for
Since 2006.
Since 2006, that's a long time.
Yes.
Not a lot of your competitors probably have been doing it for that long.
No, they haven't, although some have, and there's some really, really great, I have some really great competitors out there, but anybody can hang out a shingle and call themselves really anything they want, especially in this internet-driven world that we live in. It's really important to vet the person that you hire and make sure that they can accomplish what they say they can. And, you know, the big, well, I don't know what word I want to use, but the big thing everyone is after is ROI, right? They want to get, they pay to get their profile optimized. They want to see something for it. So, yes, I would say choose very carefully. Ask for clients that they've had. Can they talk to those clients? Just as you would, you know, vetting any other service that you're thinking you're going to an attorney. You want to know what kind of results he's gotten for someone else.
So who's your target market? Everybody, or?
Mostly small businesses. I don't get involved too much with large enterprises and individual professionals, but in the sense that, not to keep picking on the attorneys, but you know, if you're an attorney, you'd be a perfect target for me, because you probably have several employees and you need that visibility in order to keep generating leads. So any small business that has some employees, up to 25 or 30, maybe even 50 employees, that wants to really, I don't like to persuade anyone to use LinkedIn, because it's not worth it to try to force someone to do it. I really want to work with companies who kind of get what the value of LinkedIn is and how it's going to help their business in terms of generating leads and driving revenue and driving traffic to their website as well, and publishing, because you can blog now on LinkedIn. And if they really understand what the value of that is, then we can sort of jumpstart the process, and I don't have to be explaining all those various things about how it works.
What about optimizing a profile?
Yeah,
You
big
do that
thing.
for people?
Yes. So profile optimization is really the hub, or your profile, in fact, before the optimization, is the hub of everything you do on LinkedIn. You can't set up an account without a profile, and you can have a profile that's half-baked, if you want to use that term, but it's not going to do you any good. If you're not going to use LinkedIn a lot, then I guess you're not going to worry too much about your profile. But for serious professionals who are really looking to be visible, get brand exposure, LinkedIn is amazing for personal branding, as well as for job seeking and some of the other things we talked about. You have to have that profile, and you really have to optimize it, which is essentially a head-to-toe makeover of the profile, emphasizing keywords that have been specifically chosen to help when someone searches for you or someone like you on LinkedIn. So just like we search on Google, you know, you search for shoes, but nobody just types in shoes anymore, because you'd get millions of irrelevant results. So you type in by brand or color or size, something like that. So on LinkedIn, it's a search engine as well, and it's you know, professional relationship bank, speaking of banks. And so you're on there, you're looking for people, but people are also looking for you, and they're typing in search terms to either find you specifically if they know your name, or to find someone like you based on your skill set. It's really important to try to, as much as you can, to try to match those kinds of searches by using the right keywords on your profile, so you can get found.
Well, coming on the other side, what are some of the, can we get some free advice? What are some of maybe the top 3 mistakes people use?
Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to give you 4. Is that all right?
Sure.
First one is going on LinkedIn and setting up your account and having a profile and doing nothing with it. Obviously, that's not going to work very well. No one's going to find you, and you're not going to generate leads or whatever your goal may be. But truthfully, the top 3 mistakes that I see are, once you have that profile, failing to optimize it in the way we just discussed. It's really important, because it's like a billboard on the highway. You know, you're driving down the highway and you're super hungry and you see a billboard for McDonald's and it says turn right, and you do because you're hungry. So people are hungry for leads, and other people need help with their problems and they're looking for someone like you. So if you fail to optimize your profile, you won't show up in searches on the first or second page on LinkedIn. You're probably not going to get found. So it's a wasted opportunity. And people who are reading your profile really are asking that age-old question, what's in it for me? What can this person do to solve this problem that I have, right? So a lot of people use when they think about optimizing their profile, they use it like a resume. They just kind of load their resume onto the profile and they call it done. But your profile is not your resume. Your resume is your resume. And your resume is really, I always say, it's like your career obituary. Because you've done those things already, they're done. And once you hand that piece of paper to someone, you can't say, oh wait, I want to change it now. I've decided I want to add this other skill. But on LinkedIn, it's kind of a living, breathing documentation of your skill set almost in that moment. Because as you learn new skills and offer new services, you can change your profile as often as you want. So it's really valuable that way. So the second one would be build your network before you really need it. So you were talking about building relationships, nurturing relationships, really important to do before you need help from people or before you need someone to open doors to a job or something like that. I think Harvey McKay wrote a book, Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. Excellent advice, and I think he must have really understood the power of having a really strong network. And it's not scary. It's something we've always done before the internet and before we had LinkedIn. We all had our own networks of friends and family and business associates. Now it's just kind of shifted online. So it's not something to be afraid of. And then the third, I would say, procrastinating about paying for a subscription on LinkedIn. I know this is a little touchy for some people, but there's still a lot you can do with the basic or free subscription. But I was telling you all earlier that LinkedIn is now rolling out this whole new desktop platform. They're trying to better align the desktop platform with the mobile app. As you know, everything's going mobile. So they're making tons of changes. You probably haven't seen it yet or haven't received it, but it's really quite different from what we're all used to. A lot of features are missing, especially for free users. They're going to lose a lot of functionality with this new rollout. So anybody who's really serious about using LinkedIn for results is really going to have to move to a paid version. And honestly, it's just part of the cost of doing business. You know, a $60 or $80 a month subscription, and I have no skin in the game, so it doesn't matter to me, but you know, if you have a subscription like that, you get all that additional functionality. You don't have to worry about being left out of various features that other people may have, which gives them the competitive edge over you.
Let me ask you, we all get a lot of friend requests or, you know,
Yes.
connection requests on LinkedIn, and I tend to turn them down if they're from people I don't know.
Right.
Because I feel that LinkedIn should be about a network of people you can actually refer and recommend.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on that?
You know, it's kind of a dichotomy. Only connect with people you know, but how do you define the word know? Is know somebody you met at a trade show or a conference, or does know mean someone who
could be
lives
useful
next
to you.
door? Someone who could be useful.
that you don't even know,
Right.
theoretically.
So a good way to, you want to continue to expand your network all the time and build it, as we talked about. So a good way to do that without violating any LinkedIn rules or upsetting people is to look at the connections of your first connections. So LinkedIn is first, second, and third connections, and your first are important, although your second are, and we won't get into that today. You can look at the first connections of a first connection that you trust, and you can ask for introductions. So the introduction tool doesn't exist anymore on LinkedIn, but the person that you are asking can do an in-system email or an in-mail to the both of you to ask if this person would be interested in a short chat with you, or however they want to phrase it. So you can leverage your own network to meet new people that are relevant to you for whatever reason. So it's sort of the smart way to go about it. So if you send invitations out to people randomly that you really don't know, if 5 of those recipients click on the I don't know this person button, the person sending the invitations will have their account suspended.
For how long?
The first time, a few days, You have to apologize and promise you'll never do it again. The second time, it could be a week or more. They could permanently suspend you if you're a repeat offender. So you don't want to go about it that way. You want to leverage your network to get to know other people.
That's terrifying.
Well, I was
didn't
going to
know
say
that.
refreshing because I get some of these requests from,
Yes.
whether it's somebody across the other side of the world or
Right.
or some kind of weird
Now you
situation.
can ding them. I usually
usually
hit
just-
ignore, but
Yeah, right.
now
Well,
you
just
could
be
say,
smart
"I don't
when
know."
someone comes to connect with you and you don't know them. Just think, is this person relevant to me in any way professionally? And if not, just don't accept it.
Yeah.
So,
So how about your consumer who's over 50? I
yes.
know that might not be their usual means of communication.
Right.
I beg your pardon.
I wasn't talking about
You're
you.
very LinkedIn savvy. Come on. Yes, it is a problem for older professionals, especially if they're job seeking. This is a new game for them, and they're used to doing things sort of the old school way, the handshake. And so employers sometimes today can look at older job-seeking professionals as maybe not having their skills up to snuff. Maybe they don't have the energy that they're looking for the job, and they certainly do. But think about it this way. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, believe me, they are looking for you on there. You're proving their point that you're not technically savvy and you can't do these things. So at least build a presence on LinkedIn, have a well-optimized profile if you do nothing else. People are looking for you just like you're out there looking for them.
Yeah, I know somebody that's helping, I guess, immigrants, learn to speak
Yes.
English and get jobs and that type of thing. And I mentioned, we were chatting the other day, and I mentioned, does this person have a LinkedIn profile? Are they on LinkedIn?
Right. Common
No.
question.
No. I go,
Yep.
person shooting themselves in the
They're
head.
looking for you
Just
on
have
there.
something there,
Just to compete. Yeah.
just to be in the business world, sure.
And if you are job seeking, recruiters definitely, they pay a large amount of money per license, about $8,000 or more per year per license for recruiters to use LinkedIn. So they're investing heavily in the site,
so
and
what do
they're
they-
going to be looking, they're doing a lot of searching, looking for people for open positions.
So what do they get for their $8,000? They can put
Well,
in keywords or something, or what?
I don't think we have enough time to get into everything that they have, but yes, let's just say they have the highest functionality of any LinkedIn member, and they can see a lot of things about LinkedIn members that the average paid subscriber probably can't see. Yeah.
So if we had one more thought, because we're almost
Running
out of time.
I know we could talk about it a long time.
Think of one more thing you want people to know.
One more thing. Well, with this rollout coming out, and you'll have it soon, I think they're trying to get it done for all members, all 430 million of them by the end of the year. Think it's really important to at least, if you're a do-it-yourself kind of person, you can go online and read all about this new platform and all the changes that are coming, so you're up to speed. If you're, you don't really understand social media that well, or algorithms on social networks, or maybe you just can't write about yourself that well, really is worth the investment, and it's pretty affordable to get someone like myself, of course, or many other of my colleagues to help you optimize your profile. It's really the best
perfect.
advice I can give. It's
Thank
important.
you.
Yeah, lots of new stuff happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very informative.
Okay. So next week we're going to be joined by James Chen from the Asia Marketing and Management Company, and a sneak peek, we're going to be talking about Donald Trump and China in one conversation, so you don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for joining us.